So in this video, I want to go over some primary audiences that you should be targeting on Facebook. So I work with a bunch of different Facebook accounts, dozens currently, and I've taken over accounts and seen what has been previously done, and it drives me absolutely crazy how complicated people make Facebook targeting. I mean, you'll have lookalikes stacked on lookalikes and all of these crazy detailed targeting. And I would be all for that if it worked. But when I see the results that all these complicated targeting options do, I see they are nowhere near as effective as the audiences that I'm about to show you. So what I found in my experience is keeping it pretty simple, pretty basic with these audiences, and you should have a lot more success on Facebook. So the first one I want to go over is interest targeting. Now, one point I want to make about interest targeting, and it's kind of the rule of thumb I've learned, is you want to pick the interest targeting that only applies to people that would know your audience, what that is. You want to find what your customers know, but nobody else. So the great example of this is in golf. I'm a huge golf nerd. Well, if you were selling a golf club, for example, the audience that you might think to target is Tiger Woods because he's the most well-known golfer. But I would say that is a mistake because Tiger Woods reaches beyond just people that love golf. I mean, everyone knows who Tiger Woods is because he's kind of a somewhat household name for various reasons. So I would not want to target, if I was selling a golf club, I wouldn't necessarily want to do Tiger Woods because I'm going to be reaching a lot of people that are not interested in buying golf clubs. They just happen to know who Tiger Woods is or has commented at some point in time on Tiger Woods and what he's done. So what I would want to do instead is I would want to target a lesser known golfer in the general public and someone that only a real true golfer would know who they were. So for example, Justin Thomas, Ricky Fowler, Bubba Watson, all these people, if you're not a golfer, you're probably like, I have no clue who they are. And that is exactly my point. You want to target people that only true golfers would know. So if I was, again, selling a golf club, I would probably start with some of those lesser known people and build an audience out that way. Now, the other point I want to make about interest targeting is that's often a good place to start if you're brand new, you've set up a new Facebook account, and you've never installed the Pixel, which I won't go over exactly what a Pixel is. It's basically just a piece of code that tells Facebook everything that's happening on your website. So if you're just starting out, you've never set up that Pixel before, then you really don't have a lot of the additional options that I'm about to cover. So interest targeting is really the first place you have to start. Now, there is another place if you're just getting started, and that is a customer database. So if you've been in business for several years and you've acquired thousands and thousands of customers, what you can do is you can upload that list into Facebook and say, hey, Facebook, these are all my prior customers. And what they do is they match that email address or that name to someone that they have on Facebook. So the more data you can provide them, the better they can do at matching. Now, there is a problem with that in that, you know, if you have 1,000 people on your customer list, they are doing their best to match, but they only match, give or take, 50% of the people because people use different email addresses and various reasons. So they're not perfect at matching, but they do their best. So what do you do with this list? Again, if you're just getting started out, what I would do is I would set up what is called a lookalike audience. So a lookalike audience is Facebook trying to find people similar to what you're giving them. So I know that's a little bit confusing, but If you uploaded your list, your customer database list, and let's say it's got, you have 5,000 customers on this list, what you could do is you could set up a lookalike audience of this customer database. And what Facebook would do is it would say, okay, here are 5,000 of your customers, and they'll do their best to match it. Facebook is going to do their absolute best to find people that match those similar characteristics as those 5,000 people. And depending on your location, let's say you are a women's makeup company, and you've given them 5,000 customers. Now, your 5,000 customers are most likely, I'll just say they are all female because that's the only people you're targeting. Well, Facebook's lookalike audience, most likely just about everyone in their lookalike audience is going to be female, because that's what they've determined of those 5,000 people. Hey, these are all 5,000 women, so I'm going to try to find other women. And it goes much more advanced than that. Facebook has a crazy amount of data on their customers, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of data points. What they like, what they dislike, what websites they go to, what they say in their Facebook posts. And they try to determine all of these factors of those 5,000 people and find people with similar characteristics. So it probably goes beyond even human comprehension. I mean, these are advanced computer calculations determining these similarities and trying to find similar people. So again, if you're just starting off, if you have a customer database list, that would be one of the first audiences I would set up, is this lookalike of customers. Now, the next one, once you get rolling, once you've installed that pixel and Facebook is collecting more data on people directly, then I would do another lookalike audience. And first, you would probably have to do a lookalike audience of visitors. Now, I usually set it up as 180-day visitors, and I'll explain that in a second. 180 days is the most Facebook allows you, which is why I did 180. But what this is Facebook is keeping data on the last 180 days of visitors to your website. So this targeting is, again, a lookalike audience. And what you're saying is, Facebook, here are people that have visited my website in the last 180 days. Try to find people that are similar to this audience. So the goal there, again, is, okay, people that are coming to your website are most likely people that are interested in your product and services and wanting to buy. And, not always the case. Some people just randomly fall on your website. But for the most part, people that visit your website are the customers, the people that you're trying to go after. So by saying Facebook, create a lookalike audience of people that are similar, again, Facebook is going to run their algorithms, all these data characteristics on your customer, and try to find more people that are similar to them. Now, the next audience that I recommend is lookalike of purchasers, or this could be leads if you're in a lead gen business, and you can do 180 days on this as well. So ultimately, this is going to be what I found one of your best audiences for generating new customers, people that have never heard of you before. This is the one you're striving for. Now, you can't always start with this particular audience because, again, well, I don't think I've mentioned this. With lookalike audiences, Facebook recommends that you have at least 1,000 of something before they can create a really good lookalike audience. So if you just have 5 customers and you create a lookalike audience, Facebook's not going to match very well people that are similar to only these 5 customers. You need at least 1,000 customers or visitors or people in your database, 1,000 of something, before Facebook can create a really good lookalike audience. So the best audience for reaching new customers that I found in most cases is a lookalike of purchasers. So once you have had your pixel on the website long enough and generated 1,000 plus customers, And if you look in the custom audience reports, you can see it'll say how much audience size they have. Once you have 1,000 purchasers in the last 180 days, you create a lookalike audience of those purchasers. And this is really, really effective. So highly recommended that once you get that set up. And honestly, once you have 1,000 1,000 purchasers and you create this lookalike audience, you can pretty much get rid of this lookalike of visitors, because in majority of cases that I've seen, the lookalike purchasers will outperform the lookalike of visitors, which kind of makes sense. I mean, if Facebook is trying to find people similar to people that purchased, you're more likely going to get purchasers than if Facebook's trying to find 1,000 people that just visited the website. That could be a lot more random people that they're going after and figuring out similarities to. So ultimately, getting a lookalike of purchasers is where you're wanting to go. Now, the last audience that I want to go over and is very effective is in remarketing. So everything I've talked about before is reaching new customers, people that have never heard of you before. I like to call that cold audiences. It's been named numerous things, but these are all new customer, new audience strategies, which is where you want to have a bulk of your budget if you have a decent budget, because that is the holy grail in advertising on Facebook, is finding new customers, people that have never heard of you. So again, the other strategy here is called remarketing, and that is where you're going after a warm audience. And the best audience there kind of depends on your business a little bit and the buying cycle. For example, if you have a product that people are either going to buy it or they're not, and there's really no in between. Like I used to do targeting for a kitchen repair service, and people, like if one of their refrigerator parts broke, they need it right away. So if they don't buy it within 24 hours, you can remarket to them for the next month, 2 months. It's not going to matter because they've probably already bought that part. So it depends on audiences, but for the most part, 30 days is a good window where that I start with a lot of businesses. So what I would do is all visitors in the last 30 days. So what this would do is it would target anyone who's came to the website in the last 30 days, and you would need to set an exclusion. Really, it would set an exclusion on almost all of these, negating customers. And again, that varies by business. If you have a product or service that people can buy multiple of, that's totally fine. But for this example, anyone who's finally bought your product or service, we're not going to target those people anymore. So with this audience, I'm targeting people that have visited the website in the last 30 days, but did not become a purchaser or a lead, depending on your business. And this audience is going to be your best, most like your best overall conversion if you're looking at cost per lead or cost per purchase, even better than this lookalike purchaser. So for a hypothetical example, maybe when you're remarketing someone, you'll get $10 leads, and your lookalike purchaser may get, best case scenario, $20. This is just very hypothetical numbers. And then, your visitors, this might get, 25. Customer database might get around 25. And interest targeting, maybe get like $30 cost per lead, give or take. So the question you may be asking is, well, if this is my best audience and I'm getting $10 leads, why wouldn't I dump all of my budget into this audience? And there's a good reason for that, is because this audience is much smaller, has much lower potential than this audience. So if you are a nationwide brand, for example, and you have 2 million, 3 million potential customers, well, there's only a small number of people that have came to your website. So maybe the people in the last 30 days that visit your website is, let's say, 10,000 people. When you're running ads to this audience, you can only go after those 10,000 people. So depending on your budget, you could go through that audience very quickly. So if you set up an ad and spent, a couple $100s a day, very quickly those 10,000 people are going to see your ad. So in order to market to them again, you're going to need to create more ads and more ads and more ads, because people are going to get sick of seeing the same ad over and over. I mean, after someone has seen your ad, the same ad 6-7 times, it's unlikely they're going to see that exact same ad the 8th or 9th time and finally convert. Now, if you create more ads, that would help. But again, if someone is seeing multiple versions of your ads 15, 20 times and they're still not buying, there's a pretty good chance the 21st time is not going to convert them. So that's why you can't dump all of your budget in this best performing ad set, because there's only this 10,000 people you can market to. Contrast that to the lookalike purchasers with our hypothetical $20 cost per lead. A lookalike audience, by default, if you use I don't want to get too granular here, the 1% option, they set up an audience of roughly 2 million people. So again, if you have a couple $100s a day to spend, or whatever your budget is, it's going to take a long time. If you create one ad, it's going to take a long time for Facebook to show that ad to those 2 million people. So you have a lot more potential money you can spend going after this audience. So that's why you can't just dump all the money into remarketing. If you have a very small budget, like only a few dollars a day, and you want to get the best bang for your buck, then yeah, you may just be able to get away with all visitors. But in order to grow a business, make the most out of it, you need to allow some budget to these lesser performing audiences, and the lookalike purchaser is the one you ultimately, hopefully, want to get to. So to summarize this up, what I see people that manage Facebook accounts, the mistake they make all the time is they spend so much freaking energy into all of these crazy interest targeting. They'll try all kinds of things. They'll run the same ad to a million different things, and they'll have ad sets with 30, 50 different targets that they're going after. What I would recommend instead is to stick to some of these basic audiences, these proven winners, and focus more of your attention on the ads themselves and also the landing page. Like, what is your offer? Writing your copy. Again, the ads, the images, the copy in that, what I like to call the hooks. Because when people are thumbing through their Facebook feed, you need to grab their attention with something and then tell a story. So I would focus a lot more attention on those efforts, because those are going to pay off more than all of this time spent trying to master this perfect targeting. So I hope that's been helpful, and really wish you the best of luck. If you have any questions with Facebook targeting, please let me know.